Hello and welcome to the 5app webinar. My name's Corey Mitchell. I'm the sales manager here at 5app, and today I'm joined by our CEO, Philip Huthwaite. So thank you so much for joining us today as we share what's new in Helix, which is our AI-powered skills intelligence solution. Now, I'll walk you through a quick agenda for today to start off with. So what are we going to be covering? We're going to be giving you an introduction or reintroduction to Helix. So Philip's going to kick us off with that before jumping into a live demo of Helix, which I'll walk you through, which highlights some of the key features in our second release. And then I'll hand back over to Philip, who's going to be sharing with you our product roadmap. So a little bit of a sneak peek into what the future of Helix looks like. At the end of the session, we'll have the opportunity for you to scan a QR code as well to book your own demo of Helix. So without further ado, I will hand over to Philip to give you the reintroduction to Helix.
Thank you, Corey, and welcome everybody for joining us this afternoon or this morning, wherever you are from. So we believe that fundamentally, prior to building and launching Helix, the L&D was broken. Okay, there's huge blind spots in it when it comes to assessing whether or not what's been learned in a training program, training exercise is actually delivering value in the workplace, let alone is it actually contributing towards the success of your business. And that's what led us to developing Helix, to close those blind spots. We spoke with 100+ L&D professionals before we launched Helix, and the things that we listened and we learned from those exercises, talking to those individuals, was that, for example, businesses were over reliant on quizzes, to take an example, so to assess whether or not L&D was effective inside that organization. So individuals were doing a quiz, were taking part in the training program, and at the end of it were saying, yes, I got 100% in that quiz. But fundamentally, that just tells you that you had good knowledge retention. It doesn't tell you that you're actually going away from that training event and implementing it in the wild, so to speak. So we therefore decided to launch Helix to solve this challenge. And what Helix does is it takes raw signals from virtual meetings and equivalent, assesses you for the application of skills in the workplace, and gives you recommendations to improve those. At launch, we launched Helix as a personal development tool, and we launched with 9 soft skills at launch. So I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. I'm going to take you through a small flavor to give you a feel for those. So the first one there I've got is accountability. So how much are you showing up to meetings, and how much are you taking ownership for tasks that you are doing, tasks that you are performing? Are you flagging potential risks and issues before they happen? Not everything always goes to plan. Are you actually owning up when things don't go to plan? Are you being accountable for your actions? In the middle there, we've got things like coachability and coaching. So it's that double-sided coin. So are you actually sharing knowledge, sharing nuggets of information to help your team improve as you grow incrementally? And on the other side of the coin, how much are you receptive to feedback? And are you taking on board what others are imparting with you? And are you then in turn using that inside your organization? And so, these are the lots of different things which you can support you from a personal development point of view and more. So as we come to today's webinar to take you through that, because a picture does paint 1,000 words, Helix, as its fundamental, gives you that, surfaces those insights, closes the gap, gives you visibility to visibility is what you're learning in a training program, is it actually showing up in the workplace? Okay, no longer relying, as I said, on those surface level metrics such as quizzes at the end of a training program, or what I didn't mention was things like peer review exercises. Okay, we're showing you those insights using actual activity, actual actions that are happening inside your day to day. And what we're going to take you through there is give you a refresher of that, but also we're going to show you the more recent developments that we've been taking place inside our platform of tightly coupling it with the other capabilities capabilities to turn those insights into action. So in the middle there, we're going to demonstrate how we've integrated it with vCoach, our AI agent capability, to essentially give you that more personalized guidance. We've identified that you might need to work on, and the example we're going to use is accountability. I understand in the demo later, we're going to show you how you can then use vCoach to drill down further to support you to incrementally improve in that particular area. And so that's from a personal development perspective, but we're also going to show you how Helix could be very beneficial to the L&D manager. So you can use Helix to identify where your team might need extra support in certain areas, and you can then use our AI agent, our AI content authoring capability, vCreate, to very quickly plug certain training gaps. So for example, you might find that you don't have appropriate content to support an improvement in accountability inside your organization. You can use vCreate to plug that gap and create learning content that is targeted to your organization. You're no longer creating content for content's sake. You're closing that gap, and you get that 360 continuously adaptive learning ecosystem. So with that, I will hand over to Corey to paint without words, to take you through the latest update to Helix.
Thank you very much, Philip. And just before I jump in, I think one of the things that you mentioned there, Philip, is really important. When we were talking to the 100 L&D professionals as we were sort of building and launching Helix, one of the things that kept coming up is this sense that Helix is really drawing from authentic data within your organization. These are sort of, live signals that's picking up from people as they go about their day-to-day work. So truly that sort of learning and the flow of work that we've all been sort of aspiring to for so many years is actually taking place here. And just to sort of give you an example of that. So what Helix will do is it will join any sort of virtual meetings that are taking place if you invite it to join them. And then it will sort of transcribe what's going on within the session itself. And then using some very clever sort of prompt engineering sort of in the back end, provide each individual sort of within the call that has Helix activated with a skills assessment against those core 9 skills. So after the session has happened, and you can see sort of Helix has joined this call, so you can see the Helix window in the bottom left of the screen there. So once the meeting has ended, what Helix will do is it will automatically send each of the participants who has Helix an email. And the email itself will first of all give you an overall analysis summary. So within the call, sort of, how did you perform? It will then tell you what your top skills were. So what are the top skills that you demonstrated within that call sort of itself? And this is actually data from a sales and marketing meeting that I had last week. But then it'll also tell you where your development opportunities are. So you can see for me, accountability was an area for development. I scored 62%, which isn't too bad, but clearly room for improvement here. So it's told me that I accept responsibility, but perhaps I'm not so good at sort of following up with a corrective plan. Now, that's great, but what I want to do is I want to understand a little bit more about that. So if I click sort of view full analysis, that's going to launch me directly into the Helix platform itself from my email. Now, this is the sort of, I guess, the breakdown of that specific call. If I go back, then I can see my overall stats across multiple meetings, across sort of periods of time, whether that's weekly or monthly. So for this example, I can see sort of, again, my summary of how I performed within the call itself. I can see my accountability skill, some suggestions of how I can sort of fix my accountability problem, and also some positive sort of relevant quotes to reinforce why I got that skill score. Just moving down, you can see there are other skills that I sort of demonstrated within the call itself, but we'll focus on the accountability. I can click related content, so I can sort of see sort of the context of sort of where I've provided those quotes. But then the important feature that we want to highlight today is this Coach Me on This tool. Now, what this is going to do, as Philip mentioned, is launch our AI agent, and this is vCoach. Now, because it's built into the Helix platform itself, I don't need to sort of type anything as a user. It's going to draw the relevant sort of prompt into the agent based on the skill score that I've just gotten here. So it's taken that sort of feedback from the call, and now it's giving me directed coaching based on that. So it's saying, so right, we need to improve your accountability score. So that's important. Here are some things that you need to work on. That's fantastic. What I can do now is I could dive into specific sort of learning interventions that are referenced within this. So I can sort of see where my sort of sources are, where it's pulled this information from, click on those, and it'll take me directly to the learning interventions that will work. But then what you can also do as a learning professional is you can build in something called a capability within the agent itself. And what these are is these are targeted learning experiences which enable your employees to practice their skills in a safe environment. So if I click on this button here, it's going to launch a capability for me here. So this is a role play scenario that I can run through to practice some of these skills. So I click on that, and that's automatically going to launch that experience for me to work through here. You can see that it's going to be sort of loading up. And what it will give me is a bit of context into sort of, what the role play is going to be all about. What are my objectives? What are the learning outcomes going to be from this experience? I can even set sort of a difficulty level, so that's going to determine how tough the AI agent's going to be on me as I run through the experience itself. So this is taking sort of raw skill signals, giving you a score, showing you where your areas for development and improvement are, giving you learning interventions to practice that skill, and then enabling you to have a coaching experience where I role play the content, role play the learning that I've just been through in a safe environment as well. So a full 360 learning experience. Now, moving sort of on from what this means for either a team leader who's given sort of the rights to do so, or from a learning professional, is I can start building a picture of where the skills are at across my team or across my organization. So if I go into the admin dashboard here and go to my skills analytics, what I can see is I can build up a picture against the core 9 skills of where sort of how my team are performing. And I can identify here skill gaps potentially within the team. So let's just take, accountability as a continued sort of example here. Let's say this is reading sort of red across the board. So there's a real sort of, challenge, a real problem with accountability across my team here. And I think, right, what I need to do is I need to create a direct learning intervention to help address this gap. What I can actually do is I can jump in and start creating a digital learning experience using our vCreate tool, which is our AI content authoring tool. So I jump into our asset library, and this is where all of the content within sort of the hub is kept. I can click the plus button, I can go create a course, and then that's going to launch me directly within the tool itself into our AI content authoring tool. Now, there are lots and lots of different options that I can sort of walk you through here, but I'm going to sort of keep it quite sort of brief so we can continue sort of focusing on Helix. If you wanted a deeper dive into this tool or anything you've seen today, there's an opportunity again to scan a barcode, a QR code at the end to book in a demo. So I'm going to generate a course just based on some instructions here. Bit of a Blue Peter moment. I've already got my prompt ready and set. I can set sort of learning objectives. I can tell the tool a little bit about the learners, about the tone, etc. if I wanted to, but I'm just going to click OK and then generate my storyboard. So I've told it I've got a challenge with accountability within my team. These are the areas I want them to focus on. Create me a digital learning experience focused on those areas. So this is now going to sort of generate, first of all, my storyboard for me to review, for me to make sure that it's delivering all of the right information that I want. And that you can see is here. So I can run through all of the different sort of elements of the course if I wanted to. I'm not going to sort of edit these at this stage. I'm just going to go ahead and generate a lesson itself. and that's going to start then creating an e-learning course essentially for me, which I can naturally go in and sort of edit however I wanted to as well. And I would always say, you know, when you're creating sort of a course like this, you know, this is a fantastic starting point for you. You know, it's given you all of the training content that you might potentially need in one place. You might want to then go in and tweak this to make sure it sort of better reflects your internal culture, or perhaps your internal sort of meaning for accountability. But what it's created for me here is, you know, it's defined accountability within the workplace. It's helping me learn how to effectively volunteer for tasks. It's helped me develop sort of skills in realistic timelines, improving communication, etc., etc. Now, what's great about this is it's all built within the hub itself. So I can sort of save this as my accountability course. I click on the home sort of icon, and then automatically what it will do is it will just create the learning experience directly within the platform itself. I can click on that and I can start disseminating that directly to my team straight away. So what we sort of demonstrated there is the ability to, first of all, understand what skills are being sort of utilized within your team, how your team are performing against the skills that you've identified that you want to track within the business. From a learner perspective, I can see sort of, you know, where I've got areas to develop, and I can use the vCoach tool to actually be coached in how to improve that specific skill. I can then practice that skill in a safe environment using the capabilities, using those role play scenarios. And then as a learning professional, I can have a look at sort of what skill gaps have been identified using Helix, and then use vCreate as a tool to generate a tailored learning experience to address that specific skill gap. So it really is a sort of, you know, a fully 360 sort of learning ecosystem that's giving you live skill analysis, the ability to coach people, and then actually the ability to create learning interventions to address those gaps. Anything else you wanted to add, Philip, before I hand back over to you?
No, I think that's an excellent summary. Thank you, Corey.
No problem at all. Back to you.
Thank you. Back to the studio, so to speak. So in terms of what Corey has just demonstrated very much the view from primarily a personal development use case. So supporting the individual to do those micro movements, those micro development points throughout the year, the months and the days. Okay, that's what Corey has demonstrated, and also how the L&D manager can then can use the data to support Corey in that particular instance with an improvement from an accountability point of view. Okay, what we haven't demonstrated, and where the real power actually also starts to come in, is that you have the ability to customize these frameworks. So we have launched with those 9 soft skills. So you have the ability to go in and edit and configure what does good accountability look like for your organization? What does good communication look like for your organization? What does good strategic vision look like for your organization? It might mean one thing for one organization, it might mean another for another organization, and that becomes hugely powerful. You also have the ability to build your own skills that Helix can monitor and assess. So for example, you might want to assess and support individuals with decision making. You might want to support individuals with time management skills. You know, depending on how wacky you want to be, or how creative you want to be, you can use the Helix capability to support that assessment and support that development, assuming that skill is demonstratable from a voice type perspective. You can use Helix to assess that particular skill. Now, the beauty of doing custom frameworks and the beauty of launching a new product is our original assessment was that Helix would primarily be used to support both businesses that were looking to help their individuals from a personal development point of view. Plus, we thought it would be really useful for other L&D providers to use Helix in conjunction with their own offer to assess the effectiveness of training that from their coaching, assess the effectiveness of that in the workplace. But a really interesting use case that's evolved more recently is using Helix from a coaching quality assurance perspective. So Corey has demonstrated the assessment from the individual employee, supporting them in that instance. But you can also use Helix to support the assessment of the coach. So are they delivering the right terminology effectively? Are they delivering the right policy wording effectively? And this is really, really powerful, especially if you have lots and lots of third-party coaches and third-party trainers inside your organization, and you're looking for a more scalable, robust quality assurance process. And many of the businesses we spoke to, they're assessing almost 1% of training programs. With Helix, you get a very scalable opportunity to support coaches, whether or not you've got one, or whether or not you've got 1,000+ coaches inside your organization. It's there as your sidekick to support the coach just as much as it can be used from an employee perspective. And there's lots more use cases as well for Helix, which will come in due course. And with that, it's a good time to show you where we're going next from a Helix perspective. So we have demonstrated AI skills intelligence platform where you very much have access to it via email. You can also have the opportunity to log into the platform to get your skill insights. We're all starting in our day-to-day to interact more with agents and do it's almost like text-based conversations with agents in natural language, and that's very much where Helix is going. Certainly in the first instance, from the admin experience. So currently, in order to set up a skill, you go in and you have a traditional text box. You enter the skill that you want to track, and you have a checkbox exercise in the ability to upload content and equivalent like that. Okay, what we're doing is we're going to deliver, the technical term is an agenetic experience, whereby you will interact with an agent set up, and they'll be there as your coach and guide to help you set up and configure Helix. Much like what Corey demonstrated from a vCoach point of view, for what the end user experience gets, that will also be available for the admins to set up and configuring skill sets. Now, one question which I've seen pop up on the comments and is very timely for what we've demonstrated here was, can it be used in conjunction with an existing learning management system? And absolutely, that's very much coming imminently with our platform. So at the moment, you can use Helix as a standalone capability, whether or not you have an LMS or not, or you can use it integrated with 5app's own learning management system. But coming very soon will be the ability for you to integrate it directly with your own learning management system, ingest that content, and also you get all the benefits of single sign-on from that other learning management system. So that just means that from an end user point of view, you're not having to log into multiple systems. You have that seamless experience, and that's an exciting place to be as an organization. And we'll watch this space for that particular release in due course. And so with that, I hope you have enjoyed today's webinar. Very much a whistle-stop tour to whet the appetite for the various bits and pieces that we've been developing at 5app and with the Helix platform specifically. If you would like to take the conversation further, what we do recommend you do is you set up a time to have a customized demo with us, and we've got a QR code on the screen there that you can scan, and that will take you to the same link there for book a demo, and then you can book a suitable time to reach out and talk to either myself, Philip, or Corey there, and we'll guide you through a custom demo and answer any specific questions you may have. So I think with that, did we want to answer some questions, Corey? What do you think? Is that a good time to do that?
I think that makes perfect sense. We've got 5 minutes to answer any questions that have come through. I can see one that's come through from Simon. Full white label options, whether they're going to be available, Philip.
Yeah, excellent question. So, you're a mind reader, Simon. That's or you've seen our roadmap. So, yes. So, what the intention is that when we integrate with other learning technology, that you have the option to either say that Helix is powered by 5app, or alternatively, you have the option to have a full white label package. So, obviously, we would like you to say it's powered by 5app, but we realize that in every opportunity, that's not necessarily doesn't work in every single setting. Okay, so you have the ability to. The idea is you'll have the ability to customize the Helix logo that turns up with your own logo. You have the ability to call it something related. You might not want to call it Helix. You can call it something else. And again, with all the various other customization options such as colors and equivalent, you'll very much have the opportunity to do that. So a full white label option, because we see not only we see a lot of other L&D providers wanting to use this technology to support this offer, and that has additional benefits in that regards as well to white label from there. Okay, have we got any other questions? I think I saw a question around earlier on about do we do other than the core 9 skills? So yes, so we've launched with 9 core skills that you can have now, just to reiterate, and they were on the screen earlier. So if you absolutely want to use 5app and Helix specifically to monitor and manage and assess other skills, we can do that now. So just reach out to us and we can set that up. Just to give you a reminder of some of the things that other businesses are using at the moment, Helix to assess is things like time management, decision making, those types of skills. So anything, we suggest currently that you think about soft skills, and you use Helix initially to support the assessment of soft skills. The other side of the coin that we're seeing people use it for is to support, especially in industries which might be more regulated and have maybe more legal speak or policy related terminology, whereby if you get the terminology wrong, it can mean some really difficult things down the line. So they're using Helix to support individuals to make sure that the right terminology has been used in the right context.
Fantastic stuff. I think we did a very good job of answering people's questions throughout the demo itself. So thank you all very much for sharing some fantastic questions, which it's almost like you'd already seen the webinar itself. You asked them at the perfect time. So thank you very much for that. I'll pause for sort of a couple more seconds just to see if anything else does come through. But failing that, thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today. I hope you've taken the opportunity to scan the QR code on the screen. We'll probably more than likely share that post the session on our company page as well. So if you do miss it, I'm sure it will pop up there very shortly. But yeah, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thank you very much. Take care.